What do you think of when you think of a typical diet? For most Americans, a typical diet consists of a meal with the meat as the primary component, perhaps with a side of vegetables and a starch. But did you know that in the United States there are over 7 million vegetarians? Worldwide there are hundreds of millions more, and one study even suggests that by the year 2050, the majority of the world will be vegetarians. Vegetarianism is the absence of meat. There are many different types of vegetarians, which I will tell you about, but the common theme is that the person who is a vegetarian does not eat meat derived from animals such as pigs, chickens, cows, and lamb. With modern technology, it's making it easier for vegetarians to meet their nutritional needs, and more people are becoming interested in this dietary choice. But it is important to be informed about the pros and cons of vegetarianism. I myself was a vegetarian for about a year. I decided to switch because I noticed I was feeling a little more sluggish, and my diet was pretty much a lot of burgers and fries and sandwiches with a lot of meat and cheese. They were quick and easy, but not very healthy. I decided to switch my dietary approach because I wasn't feeling very well. And I found a lot of benefits. I'm what you would call a flexitarian currently, in that I eat meat, but only a few days a week. While we eat, what we affects who we are. It can help us through the day, and it can make us feel more sluggish. We can become overweight, have health problems if we eat poorly. How we eat also affects our budget. Meat is very expensive, and oftentimes vegetarian substitutes are a lot cheaper. There are great reasons to learn more about this topic. In this speech, I will tell you about the common reasons that people choose to become vegetarians. I'll also tell you about the health benefits, including some studies which suggest that vegetarianism is linked to the reduced rates of heart disease and cancer. I will share some of the common questions that people have. I will also present some of the issues associated with vegetarianism and how they are addressed. Now, let's explore some of the many reasons that people choose to become vegetarians. And there are many different reasons. We'll start with health benefits. Some studies have suggested that diets high in animal fats and cholesterol are linked to higher rates of heart disease and certain types of cancer. For example, an article in Forbes discussed a study which found that people between the ages of 50 to 65 who ate a diet high in animal proteins were 4 times more likely to die of cancer than those who ate a diet low in animal proteins. 4 times more likely. The study also found that plant-based proteins did not have the same effect. Now, there's a study called the China study. And Chinese diets have, and how it really compared to the Western diet. Chinese diets, they have found that consumption of animal proteins was linked to cancer, diabetes, heart disease, obesity, and osteoporosis. Life expectancy. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition published a study which found that diets that are low or entirely eliminate animal proteins are associated with a longer life expectancy. Now, there's also economic and political reasons. The cost to raise animals for food is very expensive, and it takes a lot of resources to raise those animals. The cost is measured in terms of water consumption of animals. Grain-fed or the grain that is required to feed these animals, and land that it takes to house all these animals. There is a professor from Cornell who suggested that 800 people, 2.5 times the entire population of the United States, could be fed by the grains that are used to feed meat animals, which is pretty crazy. Another study suggests that the resources required to cultivate meat will make it so expensive that by the year 2050, more than half of the world will become vegetarians out of economic necessity. In many operations, no consideration is given to the well-being of the animals beyond really basic living conditions. Many times the animals are confined to living in spaces no larger than their bodies, and they can't even turn around. And it's because the business is about efficiency and minimizing expenses. There's also been some human rights abuses. So factory farming is very dangerous work that's most often performed by illegal immigrants and underage workers. Often they're denied basic rights, including basic wages, bathroom breaks, so they won't fall behind on productivity and have a lack of medical treatment when injuries occur on the job. For a lot of people, it's cultural and religious reasons. Some cultures and religions forbid the consumption of certain types of animals. For example, India has the greatest number of vegetarians because of their culture. So I know you're thinking there are some benefits to reducing or at least cutting out meat, but aren't sure what the restrictions would be. Not to worry, there's lots of different types of vegetarians, which I will tell you about. The first one is a pescatarian. Pescatarians refrain from eating land animals, but they do eat fish like salmon, scallops, and lobster. Lacto-ovo vegetarians. These kind of vegetarians are the traditional vegetarians, but they refrain from eating animal-derived meats, but will eat products from the animal, such as eggs, milk, and cheese. Vegan. So a vegan is kind of the most extreme version of a vegetarian. In addition to refraining from eating meat, vegans will not eat anything from the animal. So veganism is a very restrictive diet, which requires a lot of planning and supplementing in order to really stay healthy. Then there's a flexitarian. It's a relatively new term, which describes a person who's not a true vegetarian, but they make an effort to stay away from meat. A flexitarian may choose to eat meat on special occasions, such as birthdays, holidays, or certain times of the year, or maybe a certain day of the week. And this option is becoming a lot more popular with people who don't want to give up meat entirely, but do want to reduce it. So no doubt you probably have a lot of questions, and I'm going to try and anticipate some of those questions. The first one, isn't meat consumption required for a balanced diet? A lot of people really think this, and that's not necessarily true. Meat is high in protein, and protein is necessary for many for a balanced diet, but there are many alternatives, such as quinoa, beans, tofu, and protein supplements. Animal products are also high in B12, so it's important for vegetarians, vegans especially, to ensure that they're taking a B12 vitamin. What if I want to try to switch, but I'm not sure if I can stick to the commitment? There's nothing wrong with that. As I stated earlier, there are several different types of vegetarian diets, and being a flexitarian is becoming more popular. Perhaps you choose to go a week without meat, just to see how your body kind of responds to it and how that works for you. Is a vegetarian diet healthier than a meat-based diet? Not necessarily. There are plenty of unhealthy options out there that are still vegetarians. For example, you could have a cheese pizza with a side of fries and a Pepsi, and then follow that up with a slice of cherry pie for dessert. Although this is a vegetarian option, it's still not a very healthy option at all. Is a vegetarian diet cheaper than a meat-based diet? Pound for pound, it is. Vegetables cost a lot less to produce because they require a lot fewer resources. However, whether this is true for an individual really comes down to the individual choices that you make. In conclusion, vegetarianism is a dietary choice that attracts a large number of people every day for very different reasons. Whether you decide to become a vegetarian is ultimately a very personal decision, but with the information I've given you, I would encourage you to make an informed decision about whether being a vegetarian is right for you. Thank you very much.